listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, the place to learn about new technology and technological advances before they become mainstream. Welcome to a special global edition, where we hear from our worldwide partners and experts at Ingram Micro for their insight into where technology is and where it's heading. Let's get into it.
Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. I'm your host, Shelby Skrhak, and our guest today is Joyce Hofman, Director of Cloud Growth Solutions for Ingram Micro. Joyce, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, so today we're talking about, modern cloud performance, but let's talk a little bit about Ingram Micro Cloud. So what inspired, Ingram Micro Cloud's global cloud growth solutions?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's our growth mindset.
Yeah.
And maybe next to that as well, the drive to always want to innovate that is, really spread through everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, for me, I think in short, that is really the things that have driven us to develop, what we call growth solutions today. But of course, I can explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, so let's go ahead and dive into that. So, having a growth mindset, we know, from other parts of our lives that, being open to learning, to trying new things, to expanding, that's something that we may be familiar with in other areas, but we don't necessarily expect it always in business. And so I guess I wonder if you could just expand a little bit. What is that growth mindset? Or I guess what are growth solutions?
Yeah, sure. So what is that growth mindset? Well, we are actually always looking for ways to maximize growth. And our focus is there more around the growth of our partners' businesses, because, that will impact our business too, right? And going, into more of a new dimension of mutual growth, how we call it. Because if you think about it, the next thing is to grow our partners' businesses. We must actually help them with their customers, right? The end customer. And in our day-to-day conversations with partners and their customers, where they bring us to the conversation, let's say many times, we've learned a lot, right? And those are learnings, that we've gathered directly from the field. But that combined with, I think, the research that we're constantly doing in the market, with all the partnerships that we have with the main market analysts out there, I think we've got a great understanding of what the market needs now, but also in the future. And that led us to think about how can we then help our partners fulfill those market needs. And, the key of what we've learned there is really how vital, let's say, a customer-centric culture is in organizations. And, customers don't want to talk about just vendors and technology. They want to understand what can technology do for my business? And they want more value from the partnerships, just beyond the transaction, and really understand what technology means for their business. And basically, that's how we started to organize ourselves around solutions instead of technology. And that's actually, from there, we decided to build growth solutions and really, organized ourselves around customer centricity and really link that business to customers and drive strategic growth.
So instead of leading with the technology stack and kind of reverse engineering, it's leading with, okay, what's the issue? What's the problem that your customers are asking you for? This is, Ingram Micro talking to the partners or resellers, and then creating these solutions then, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it all. It's all about the business outcome. What can it do for their business? What can it solve? And that's a shift in direction, and that's a shift in how we as an organization go to market. But it's also a shift that our partners will go through. And the interesting thing is, let's say that we've surveyed, through, let's say, a lot of our partners, and the outcome was that they were like, our number one challenge is more on the business side. It's business centric. It's more around how do I sell, let's say, technologies from leading vendors, without actually mentioning even the vendor brand, because for customer that they don't really, always care about the brand. It's about the outcome and about solving the problem. And helping partners articulating that, I think that's definitely what makes us so excited about going in this direction.
So just as far as the timing of this, how recent or how new of a focus? Is this these growth solutions, that angle or that strategy or mindset?
Yeah, so we actually changed this direction last month. I mean, we were already, let's say, doing this, more or less, but this is really, let's say, we've now armed an entire global team around this mission,
Yes.
right? I'm leading a growth solutions team, and we have leaders on different pillars and areas of growth on what we are seeing, where the business is going to in the market. So yeah, we are definitely taking a step, more seriously towards this new mindset and really embed this as part of our culture. And I think that's the change actually over last month that we really been doing much more intense.
Got it. Well, you mentioned the pillars, and I want to talk about those 4 pillars. But let's first, again, look big picture, kind of literally and figuratively to the cloud. So where do you see the cloud business heading?
Yeah, so a couple of things there, but I see, for example, a lot of focus around hyperscalers. They're really dominating the industry and refining, their partner models, their programs, and even their marketplaces. That's one of the things that we're seeing. But also, those are, let's say, cloud vendors, but also traditional OEMs are really reinventing themselves and committing to as a service models and are really going very close, towards cloud businesses. So that on more on the vendor side. And then I also see more, focus and shift on industry clouds. What means that cloud services are really going to be fine-tuned for specific and unique industries. So that's also another thing. But in general, there is really, an extreme rapid pace of change in the cloud business and in the adoption. And I mean, growth in cloud really shows no signs of stopping, actually. And the expectation is that, in the next few years, at least half of all IT spending will shift from traditional to public cloud.
Yeah, at least half, and that's a lot. That's a lot. So let's talk about then the key areas of growth, and you mentioned the pillars. Let's tell us about those pillars. I mean, what are they, and why are they focuses?
Yeah, so we have actually 4 main key areas defined of growth, and that we are also offer deep specialization and expertise in. And that's actually the 4, let's say, pillars that we named our growth solutions. So we have modern cloud platforms. We do have seamless security. We have connected workplaces, and we have business performance. Yeah, so for example, to tell a little bit more what it actually includes. To start with modern cloud platforms, this is where we do see a lot of growth in app modernization. And I think, if I remembered correctly, it was a report from, I think it was Forrester, that 64% of those, let's say, decision makers really mentioned that modernization was their top goal over the coming year. So that's what we see within, the modern cloud platforms pillar is heavy on app modernization, as well as another focus there is data and insight solutions. So that's on that pillar. Yeah, as a second, seamless security, there we actually see a lot of growth in endpoint security, identity security, and then security operations. And not just security on its products only, but we have kind of thought about what makes security seamless. And that's the services around it. Right, so it's including things as assessments and managed services with MDR, XDR technologies, for example. So that's really what made us building out a seamless security growth solution pillar. And then we have connected workplace, and here it's not just remote work as it was after the pandemic, but here it's all about the future of work. And there you see a huge, let's say, growth and shift in hybrid work. And that we want to empower through the solutions that we offer within Connected Workplace, which is all around collaboration apps, virtual desktops, and then also help them improve with digital experiences. But that's on that pillar. And then the 4th one, business performance. There it's all about, equipping teams with CRM technology, ERP software, and then, low-code platforms to really help drive workforce automation. And to really, help them quicker build and integrate applications. And we are really taking, let's say, more of a tailor-made approach there to really personalize what strategies work best for partners and their customers. And that can be tailored to specific industries, for example. But that's really the approach that we're taking there with the 4 pillars.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with so much focus for good reason on security and making sure that that is very seamless. Creating business efficiencies, and so being able to have a team dedicated to business performance. I mean, that all makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about then partner opportunities. So how are you setting up partners for success?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's the if we crack that code, that's the golden nugget. Well, I think success in today's cloud really means that we also need to help prepare for tomorrow's cloud. And while we can help partners with their current environment, we also want to begin planning with them for their next steps and for, let's say, driving more of a continuous growth with them. And, let's say whether that's helping them embracing, future business models, or whether we help them specialize in certain industry clouds. Like all we do is, helping them with the skills and the experiences to really help them focus on the customer and on the outcome-based conversations. And that's kind of like the red line between the entire growth solutions mission. It's that customer-centric piece. And as an organization, we actually have all the ingredients to do that. We can help them with leveraging the right tools, like services, resources, and really helping them, tailoring messages to the outcomes that customers want. And then also, like, not to forget all of our, investments in our platform and in our robust portfolio, and where we are very known for, of course. Yeah, because you need that to make it happen, right? Because leading technology, let's be honest, you need that to realize a solution and realize the promise of the outcomes through technology. So yeah, we got that all covered too, and we can also build that through the deep relationships that we have with our hyperscalers. For example, we have all that, let's say, leading technology to help them with the outcomes. But I think one last thing to mention there is, because before going into any growth solution, what I think is so valuable and what we're doing is that our specialist team really take the time first to understand, the strengths and the maturity of each partner's solution portfolio and solution, let's say, scope today. And that process of analyzing, that partner's readiness, that is very important, because that helps us to align actually the level of support that we need to offer, right? Whether that's sales, whether it's marketing, is it on the technical side, is it managed services, do they need training, all those kind of things. And I think that level of profiling that we start with to really help understand on what solution areas we need to provide these types of support, that's really what helps setting partners up for success and build their plan. Yeah, and I think with that, we definitely can provide the answer that everyone is looking for.
Well, it seems like, having that level of partnership, the idea that, do you walk into a Walmart and, grab, this brand, that brand, this brand, that brand, and check out, kind of self-service, or do you go to, a boutique that can say, okay, well, let's take a look at, what do you need? What are you interested in? What's your budget? And kind of having more of a service approach. Is that a good analogy for what Ingram Micro is doing, is providing these growth solutions by looking at the whole customer and creating and making suggestions accordingly?
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. That's actually a perfect example of it.
So if a customer then was inclined to think, I don't have time for this, boutique experience, I just want to get in, get out, buy what I need and move on. Why are growth solutions something partners really can't ignore?
Yeah, well, actually most important, because their customers wants it. And that's actually, in short, the answer. Any organization that cares about its customers they can't go with one of these growth solution areas. And as a result, they would definitely miss out on a lot of revenue and growth potential if they weren't focused on one or more of these growth solutions. So yeah, we do see selling growth solutions really as a vital part of companies who wants to accelerate, driving new ARR, which stands for annual recurring revenue, and really help them to drive that sustainable growth. Because growth solutions and the focus and the way that we have articulated those can really help partners to position, the appropriate strategy and the messaging for each of the opportunities we're seeing in the market and gain the momentum in the growth that is projected in the market and really help them moving forward with their customers. Because, the growth that is projected in cloud is huge, right? It's close to $900 billion over the next few years. That's crazy. As a result of that, you see more and more CEOs of our partners' organizations, they are appointing chief revenue officers, CROs, right? To help them not only with driving the growth today and the revenue today, but plan them for the future. And that's where that growth piece comes in. But it might be, even difficult for those CROs to keep up with all the industry changes and the constant changing customer demands, because customers are more and more demanding, and then they have to also focus on driving the revenue today. So, that can be difficult. So with our help in those growth solutions, we can help those CROs to really plan for the future too. And, as we have already anticipated on the growth areas that sets them up for now and in the future. So yeah, that's why I think it's definitely not something partners can ignore. And I don't think they will ignore that.
Well, as we do start to wrap up our episode, we always ask our guests the same final question. And that's, where do you see technology going in the next year? And I always say that I know that is broad, but it's by design because, we want to hear what your views are within maybe this space or something that you're just personally keeping an eye on. But where are we going to be in 2023?
Well, actually, towards growth in those 4 growth areas that we just have discussed. This is exactly where we've aligned our organization for, around what's going on now, next year, year after, and really lining up that through growth solutions. So, the technology underneath those growth solutions, will be definitely where we see the market is going. And then, even maybe new technologies will pop up to make it easier, to promise those outcomes to make those promises happen that we actually promise to partners through those growth solutions. And technologies make, for example, modernization easier, right? Technologies make it easier to get more insights from data and to help enhance digital experiences, for example. So yeah, that's definitely on the technology side. It's a supporting factor to make the outcomes happen and make the promises happening that we're making. Yeah, and a huge focus on hyperscalers too. I have to say that too. We've seen a lot of technologies landing on hyperscalers as well, and a lot of specialized technologies like horizontal, vertical. They're landing on hyperscalers these days. So that's another thing that I'm seeing on the technology front.
Excellent. Well, if our listeners have any questions about anything we talked about today or want to find out more information, how can they reach out?
Yeah, well, I actually would encourage everyone to visit our new Growth Solutions landing page, because from there, partners can decide if they want to zoom in just a specific growth area or if they want to hear about all of it. But that's the place, that's a good starting point where they can download specific content, but also really request to connect with us and one of our specialists to give them more information. So we'll definitely guide everyone to the latest new Growth Solution landing page.
Well, Joyce, I appreciate your time and your insight in the conversation today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in and subscribing to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. If you like this episode or have a question, please join the discussion on Twitter with the hashtag B2B Tech Talk. Until next time, I'm Shelby Skrhak.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, special global edition. To not miss an episode of our show, subscribe today to B2B Tech Talk on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're listening in Apple Podcasts, it would help us a lot if you left a quick rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the show deserves.